So are you guys planning to get the brain chip when it becomes available to the general public? It's an honest question. The day could be coming sooner than we think. 5 to 10 years with the insane ramp-ups they're planning, maybe a bit longer, or maybe even sooner. Shit, according to the Chinese, they're ready for mass production of brain chips right now. They're ready to pretty much wire up their entire population. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. The brain chip industry is already a multi-billion-dollar operation. There's essentially a brain chip arms race going on in the background right now. You've probably already heard of Elon Musk's Neuralink, but did you know that other huge names are investors in their own projects? Like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have a company called Synchron. Sam Altman has a company called Paradromics. And of course, the Chinese, with their state-backed researchers and military-linked labs, reported human implants and aggressive national-scale neurotech development. And the list goes on with different projects with big names of people who you usually hear in conversations related to AI. They're also working on fast-tracking a brain chip. Of course, they got MrBeast out here doing the PR campaign for the brain chip. He's playing Mario Kart against the paraplegic guy who got the Neuralink. And that's wholesome, I guess. Look, I'm not knocking disabled people using the brain chip technology to improve their quality of life. Shit, if I was paralyzed from the neck down, I'd want the Neuralink too so I could play Call of Duty with my brain while I'm stuck in bed all day. But that's just where we are right now. At one point, it was in animal testing and people were saying, oh, it's not being used on humans yet. And now it's being used on humans and people are saying, well, it's just for the disabled. So give it enough time and eventually we're going to be seeing the Brain Chip Pro Max available over the counter for retail customers. I'm saying I highly doubt that Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Blackrock Neurotech are all creating these implantable devices to just enable paralyzed people to control computers and robotic limbs. The stated goal of a lot of these operations is just jacking in the general populace. They're making all these chips, they need plenty of brains to plug them into. It's a day our generation will live to see. I'm surprised people are talking about anything else. And people will start plugging themselves in as soon as this shit drops. Remember when ChatGPT first came out and people were so excited about how it would help them with their assignments, and now it's just baked into the dystopia? You're going to look back fondly on the days when it was just AI taking your job. In the future, you're going to be competing against human cyborgs with fully augmented brains. Right now, it's just in its jokey meme stage. We have celebrities like Kim Kardashian, Lil Uzi Vert, Jake Paul, and Lady Gaga saying they're excited for the brain chip. And granted, we're still 5-10 years out from when the brain chip will be fully implemented and actually become a big part of our lives. You thought bots on the internet were a big problem. In the future, we're going to be dealing with bots IRL. Personally, there's no way I'm getting the brain chip when it first drops. I want to see all the different problems it has and see some of the people who just zig out from it. The random complications people are going to have when they start modifying their brain chips and shit is going to be insane. And then you throw in all the human complications that just come with the territory, such as the rich getting cognitive upgrades that'll probably be far superior than the lower classes. And sure, a lot of this shit will be regulated when it comes to first world countries, but you think about some of these developing nations, they're going to go overboard with it and they're going to completely overstep the brain chip technology. In some godforsaken parts of the world, there'll be people who are modifying the brain chips to do unspeakable horrors. I can't even begin to wrap my mind around how the military is going to implement it. And if you're like me and you're saying, I'll never get that shit, just think about the people who refuse to get a cell phone and how society somehow maneuvered a way that it's impossible to function without a smartphone. My prediction is in the future, it'll be marketed as a luxury item. There'll be people who are getting rich from it, essentially, and they'll be put on a pedestal. There'll be people who use the brain chip to enable themselves to become rich in the stock market or something, and they'll go completely viral, and all of a sudden everybody will want it. And then over time, naturally, the technology will become cheaper and more accessible to average everyday people, and eventually it'll be normalized. I'd imagine it'll be one of those things that separates Gen Z from Gen Alpha and definitely Gen Beta. The term Gen Beta might ironically be referred to as like beta testing for the brain chip, much the same way we view Zoomers as the iPad generation, much different from the millennials who didn't necessarily grow up with computers their entire lives. The defining feature of Gens Alpha and Beta will be the fact that they grew up with the ability to control the computer with their brains. Another crazy one to think about is subscription firmware updates in your skull, and that's 100% going to be a reality. Right now, I need a subscription just to use my printer, and in the future, you're probably going to need a subscription just to have access to certain thoughts. Imagine your brain computer gets hacked. You'll see little Jimmy zigging out in the grocery store and his mom will say, "Oh, he's fine. He's just running an antivirus protocol. He'll be fine in about 10 minutes. And imagine your thoughts as data. So when there's a data breach, instead of just losing all your information off your phone, you're losing the access to every thought you've ever had. And advertisers are going to love it. Facebook's going to be first in line to be sending pop-up ads directly to your skull. And oh my God, imagine running out of memory. I mean, shit, the one thing in life that we all take for granted is that there's no lag. It's not a far reach to assume by any means that the brain chip will have a lot of the similar problems we already have with modern day technology. At the end of the day, it's human made and it's going to be flawed. I'm sure the dopamine maxers are going to love it with direct stimulation loops and gaming wired right into your cerebral cortex. The term brain rot's going to have a whole new definition, especially when you consider brain chip wear and tear, like hardware degradation. It's definitely some cyberpunk level shit. But try bringing up the brain chip in a conversation with a normie and they're still not able to wrap their minds around it. One thing I've started doing is when people bring up a chip in the brain in a conversation, which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen from time to time. Like I had it come up when I was talking to this dude who was relatively unhinged. He was saying, "Oh, they're going to put a chip in our hand. They're going to make it so that you need that chip so that you can buy or sell things at the grocery store." Obviously, he was trying to make a point about government overreach and he thought he was being hyperbolic. So I just hit him with a casual, "Oh yes, Neuralink, the project that makes it so paraplegic people can control computers with their brains." And this dude just couldn't comprehend the casual nature by which I said this. And I think that's the trick to help people get brain chip pilled. You just very casually explain, "Oh yeah, it made it through animal testing and it's working on humans." The more casually you can say this, the better, because people are so prone to having this be a science fiction conspiratorial conversation. But the truth is, you could say this to the most serious person you know with a full expectation of being taken seriously. Like take me for example. I understand I'm just some dude playing Call of Duty here making a commentary video, but I'd expect all of you to go fact check everything I've said. Punch it into any search engine or LLM. Do your research because this is an important topic and we all need to be keen on the facts. Like how are people sitting around talking about politics or whatever rage bait is in the news lately without bringing this up in pretty much every conversation? Like you want to know my view on politics? Brain chip. Like yeah, I think he's a good politician. He has a good foreign and domestic policy, but what's his stance on brain chip? Or like, you need relationship advice? Brain chip. Now, I might not bring up the brain chip on the first date, but it's an important question to ask. Would your husband or wife get the brain implant? And on a larger scale, shouldn't we be putting in guardrails right now to make sure that this doesn't become some sort of mandatory procedure once it's more widely available? But nah, people want to talk about Tom Hanks deepfakes or whatever. The conversation we really should be having is what the fuck is going on with the goddamn brain chip? The multi-billion-dollar industry where all the richest people in the world are racing against each other so that they can create the most efficient chip for our fucking brains. Like, you know that company Synchron, the brain chip company backed by Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos? That one doesn't even require open brain surgery like the Neuralink. So no need to open your skull. They slide a tiny mesh chip called the Stentrode through a vein in your neck, snake it up a blood vessel next to your brain, and pop it open like a heart stent. It then sits inside the vein and reads your brain signals through the vessel wall. So essentially, instead of plugging straight into your brain like the Neuralink, it's basically eavesdropping through the hallway instead of sitting in the room. This is the part where it stops sounding like science fiction and starts sounding like, oh, it's just another tech rollout. First we had phones in our pockets, then watches on our wrists, then AirPods in our ears. Now the pitch is basically, okay, but what if the device just lives with you? Not even in a Lex Luthor supervillain type of way, more like, it'll help paralyzed people. Awesome. Restore speech. Great. Maybe fix blindness. Amazing. And you're going to get to control your PC without touching it. Sounds badass. Now let's be honest, if mind control gaming drops and you can reload in Call of Duty without moving your thumbs, someone's buying that shit day one. But once we get past the medical stuff stage, it's going to turn into, why are you still unchipped, bro, type energy. And that's where the vibe shifts. We're not in mad scientist territory exactly. We're more like in Silicon Valley mind control territory. And that's why this whole thing feels less like a conspiracy and more like a roadmap. The part that makes it interesting, not panic, not hype, more like, oh, this is probably going to happen. After all, it's not some Kickstarter gadget that might fail. It's billions of dollars, multiple countries, multiple companies, human trials already happening. Shit, if I was a finance bro and this was a money commentary channel, I'd probably tell you to invest in it. And of course, once this pops off, you're going to hear the conversations around government mind control, thought policing hardware, the mark of the beast, a la MrBeast, social credit systems installed directly into your skull, and of course, the big one, they're going to flip the switch and control you. And look, most of that's not what's happening right now. These companies are trying to read signals, not beam thoughts into you. It's mostly assistive tech at this point, and here's where it stops being crazy. If a device can read brain signals, the natural question is, can it eventually write to them? Because we already electrically stimulate brains for Parkinson's. We already alter mood with certain implants. We already use neurostimulation for depression. So the wild theory version is, of course, they control your thoughts. The realistic concern is this becomes a data layer, an influence layer we've never had before. That's the big difference. It's not a secret alien firmware. It's incentives, governments, corporations, and human nature doing what they always do. And where there's an opportunity to seek control, you know they're going to take it. So just pay attention. And enjoy the 2020s while they last. They're not perfect, but they're a whole lot less crazy than the 2030s are shaping up to look. So anyway, I appreciate y'all watching all the way to the end. Let me know if you made it this far by posting in the comments. Are you going to get a brain chip when it first drops, or are you going to wait for a later model? Or maybe you're not going to get it at all. Love to hear your thoughts.